Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started.
Today, we are heading into some potentially turbulent airspace.
Literally and figuratively, I think.
Literally and figuratively, yeah. We are tackling the high-stakes, high-pressure world of event drone flying. We're talking weddings, festivals, high-speed sports.
All the places where there are absolutely no take-twos.
None. Zero. And it is a world that I think, a lot of people really underestimate.
Oh, completely. You see that amazing shot on Instagram, right? The perfect orbit around the couple on a cliffside, or this massive flyover of a festival crowd.
Yeah, the epic stuff.
The epic stuff, but you don't see the sweat, the hours of planning, or just the terrifying physics involved in getting that shot safely.
It's the iceberg theory, isn't it? We see the 10-second clip, but we don't see the 3 hours of anxiety and the years of regulatory study that went into it.
Exactly. And the legal minefield you have to dance through just to get the propeller spinning in the first place.
So to really set the stage for this, I want to start with a scenario from our source material that's described as the nightmare scenario. And honestly, just reading the description made my palms sweat a little bit.
I know the one you're talking about. It's rough.
It is. So picture this. It's a high-end wedding, the most important moment of the entire day. The couple is at the altar, the officiant is mic'd up, the room is dead silent.
Everyone is leaning in. Tears are probably happening.
Totally. You can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And then, what's the sound? It's like a ZZZZZZZZT.
The sound of a dentist drill, basically. Mm-hmm. That high-pitched, inescapable whine.
Right. A drone. Mm-hmm. Just hovering there. Not even moving. Just hanging in the air, cutting right through the most sacred moment of silence.
And you've just become the person everyone at that wedding remembers, but for all the wrong reasons.
For sure. The source actually mentions that in this specific case, nobody yelled, nobody panicked, but the videographer's face just said everything.
Oh, I can picture that look. Pure horror.
Because you just ruined the audio.
Yeah.
You just destroyed the audio for the most important part of the entire film they're trying to make.
And that scenario, it just perfectly highlights the core tension we're going to be exploring today, doesn't it?
It really does. It's this conflict between getting the epic shot, the one the client thinks they want, and the reality of safety, physics, and frankly, the sanctity of the moment.
Yeah, it feels like there's this massive philosophical shift that a pilot has to make. The source material talks about this idea that a wedding or a festival, it's not just a flight job.
Right. It's not a construction site survey.
No, not at all. It's a live, emotional, one-take event. And the pilot's job isn't just flying, it's providing, and I love this phrase, magic without stress.
Magic without stress. That's a great tagline for the whole industry, really.
It should be.
But to achieve that, to get to that point, the sources suggest the pilot has to essentially split their brain in two. They have to be two people at once.
Yes, the two mindsets concept. This is so critical to get your head around.
So walk us through that. What are the two mindsets?
Okay, so first, you have the filmmaker. That's your creative side. That's the person chasing the story, the light, the composition.
The artist.
The artist, exactly. You want the drama. You see the sparkler exit and your brain just screams, I need to be right in the middle of that. You're thinking about focal lengths and color grading and all the beautiful stuff.
Of course. That's why you bought the drone in the first place.
Right.
To make cool things.
But, and this is the hard part, simultaneously, you have to be the air operator.
The boring one.
The boring but life-saving one. Yeah. Yes. The air operator is running a moving safety perimeter in their head at all times. They're thinking about battery voltage, wind shear, crowd movement, escape routes.
So the air operator looks at that same sparkler tunnel and thinks,
that is a tunnel of fire, alcohol, and unpredictable human behavior, and my escape routes are zero.
Right. And usually, those two people in your head, the filmmaker and the air operator, they want completely opposite things.
Constantly a war. The filmmaker wants to fly through the fire because it looks incredible. The air operator knows that's a fundamentally terrible idea because of spinning blades and flammable hairspray.
It's the recipe for disaster.
It is. And the whole mission of this deep dive, really, is to figure out how to let the air operator win that argument without completely killing the filmmaker's creativity.
How do you find that balance?
Yeah, how do we move from being a hobbyist with a camera who just sends it to being a safe and sane professional, someone who understands crowd geometry just as well as they understand ISO settings?
Okay, so let's dive into that. Let's start with phase 1 of our materials here, the operator mindset. The sources break down every single event into 2 distinct worlds.
The controlled world and the chaos world.
Right. What's the distinction here? This seems like a really useful framework.
It's such a helpful mental model. Okay, so the controlled world is the venue before anyone arrives.
The calm before the storm.
Exactly. It's the empty field at sunrise, the empty church. The movement is predictable because there isn't any. You know where the trees are. You have a clear launch zone. You can actually talk to the photographer without shouting. It's calm. You, the pilot, are in control of almost all the variables.
And then the doors open. The guests start arriving.
And you immediately enter the chaos world. Guests pour in. Kids start sprinting around. And let's be honest, kids love drones. They will chase them. They see them as a toy.
Oh, for sure. They are a magnet for kids.
They are. And then the alcohol starts flowing at the reception. People are holding their phones up in the air, not looking where they're going. The environment becomes this living, breathing organism that you cannot predict or control.
And the key takeaway here in the source material was fascinating and maybe a little controversial for some pilots. It says, the drone belongs almost entirely in the controlled world.
It really, really does. I mean, if you're flying deep in the chaos world, like hovering over a packed dance floor at 10 p.m., you are just rolling the dice.
You're introducing a high-speed spinning object into a dynamic, unpredictable, and probably intoxicated environment.
It's just not a smart risk, and this is where the sources lay out a 3 priorities hierarchy that I think every pilot should basically tattoo on their arm.
Okay, let's hear them. What's number 1?
Priority number 1 always is safety and legality. No hero moves.
That seems obvious, but I can see how in the moment, when the client is right there yelling, "Get the shot," or the DJ drops the perfect beat, that priority can slip.
It slips so easily because of adrenaline. You want to please the client. You want to be the hero who got the impossible shot, but your job is to be the anchor of safety.
Okay, so safety first was priority number 2.
Priority number 2. The couple, or the subject, is the main character. The drone supports the story. It must not become the story.
That's a really interesting way to put it. What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. If everyone is looking up at your buzzing drone instead of at the bride walking down the aisle, you have failed priority 2. You've made your gear the center of attention.
That's a great litmus test. If heads turn up to look at your drone, you've lost.
And you've lost. You're no longer documenting the moment, you're interrupting it.
And priority 3.
Invisibility.
Okay, so this ties back into the audio thing.
It's almost entirely about the audio. Quiet timing. 0 audio disruption.
This brings us right back to that dentist drill in the silent room. So let's talk about audio. The source material is pretty blunt about this. It says audio is king. Why is this such a huge blind spot for so many drone pilots?
Because we're visual creatures. Pilots are obsessed with the framing, the color grading, the smooth cinematic movement. We think with our eyes.
We're thinking about the quality of the image, not the quality of the sound.
Exactly. But for a wedding film or a documentary or any event with speeches, the audio, the vows, the toasts, the ambient sound of the crowd cheering, that is the emotional spine of the entire piece.
That's a good point. You can tell a story with just audio. It's much harder with just video.
You've got it. If you strip away the audio from a wedding film, you just have a pretty music video. If you strip away the video but you keep the audio of the vows, you still have the core story.
And a drone is, for all intents and purposes, a flying lawnmower.
It is. It's a flying lawnmower that emits a very specific frequency. It's not just noise. It's a high-pitched whine that cuts right through the same frequencies as the human voice.
Which makes it incredibly difficult to remove in post-production.
Sometimes impossible. You can try to notch it out with an EQ, but you often end up destroying the quality of the dialogue. You make the person sound like they're talking through a tin can.
So the sources mention a golden rule here regarding microphones. What is it?
It's very simple. If the moment has a microphone and tears, so vows, speeches, toasts, anything like that, stay grounded. Period. Just land the drone.
That seems really restrictive.
Yeah.
Some pilots might feel like they're missing the key moments.
It is restrictive, but it's what makes you a professional. The best pilots, the ones who get hired by high-end planners over and over, are actually audio protectors.
I like that term. Audio protectors.
Planners love them. Not because they fly the craziest loops, but because they don't ruin the sound. If you can be the pilot who says, "I'm staying on the ground because the maid of honor is about to give her speech," you just won the trust of every other vendor in that room.
So that's the mindset.
Yeah.
You're a protector, not just a shooter.
That's the whole game.
But even the most protective pilot needs to know the actual rules. And this is where it gets really interesting and, frankly, pretty complex. The regulations for events are a minefield.
They really are.
So we're moving into phase 2, the regulatory backbone.
This is the eat your vegetables section, but it's absolutely critical. You can't just send it because the client pointed and said, go there.
No. And the sources introduce this concept that I love, the permission stack. It's such a great image. It's like, just because you have the key to the front door doesn't mean you have a key to the safe inside.
That's a perfect analogy. A client hiring you is just the very first door. That's the business, yes. But the client cannot grant you the legal right to fly. They don't own the airspace.
So you have to collect all the keys. The sources say there are 5 doors you need to unlock.
5 doors, and you need the key to every single one.
Okay, let's run through the stack. Door number 1.
The client. That's the easy one. They're paying you. That's the job.
But it's important to remember, right, that the client is hiring you for a result, not necessarily the method.
That's a very subtle but important point. They want a beautiful video. They don't necessarily care if you get a shot with a drone or a 30-foot camera crane until they see the drone and just assume it's a simple toy.
Okay, so you have the client's permission. Door number 2.
The property, the landowner or the venue itself. Just because the client hired you doesn't mean the venue allows drones on their property.
And they have every right to say no.
They might have massive liability insurance issues, or there could be horses on the property that spook easily. They can absolutely ban you from launching from their grass, even if the airspace above is technically open.
And this comes up a lot with high-end resorts and historic venues, right?
Constantly. A couple gets married at a luxury resort, they hire a drone pilot, and then on the day of, the resort manager comes out and shuts them down because of privacy policies for the other guests paying thousands of dollars a night.
And if you didn't check that door beforehand, your whole day is ruined.
You're in serious trouble. You look unprofessional, and you can't deliver for your client.
Okay. Door number 3 in the stack.
The airspace. This is the big one. This is the FAA in the U.S. or Transport Canada and NEFI Canada up north. Is the airspace actually legal to fly in? Are you in a Class B restricted zone right next to an international airport? Is there a TFR, a temporary flight restriction for a VIP visit? This is the federal door.
The one with the biggest lock on it.
For sure, and the one with the biggest fines if you break it.
So that's the sky itself. Door number 4.
The people. This is all about the crowd rules, which we'll get into much more deeply in a bit. Just because the airspace is clear doesn't mean you can fly over a group of 500 people. This is the door people violate the most, often without even realizing it.
And finally, door number 5.
Event governance. This is the on-the-ground authority, the festival security team, the police managing the perimeter of a parade. Even if the airspace is uncontrolled and you have the client's permission, the event security can walk up to you and shut you down. They have final say on the ground.
So you need all 5 keys. If one of those doors is locked, you don't fly.
You don't fly. And so many pilots, especially newer ones, they confuse door number 1, the client paying them, with door number 3, the regulators allowing them to fly.
They think, well, the bride said it's okay, so that somehow overrides the FAA.
Which is a very, very expensive assumption to make when the fine comes in the mail.
Okay, let's break down some of the specifics here, starting with Canada, because our sources point out a huge regulatory trap hidden in the details there, specifically regarding advertised events.
Oh, this is a big one, and it catches so many people off guard. In Canada, under the CARS, the Canadian Aviation Regulations, if an event is advertised, and that just means it's promoted to the public.
Like a music festival, a parade, a public sporting event.
Exactly. If it's open to the public, the rules tighten up significantly.
And there's a specific rule, CAR 901.26, about horizontal distance that is super important.
Yes, the baseline is 30 meters. That's about 100 feet. You must maintain a horizontal distance of 30 meters from anyone who is not directly involved in your drone operation.
And here's the kicker from the source material that really surprised me. that applies at any altitude.
That's the part that people miss.
Wait, so clarify that for us. I can't just fly 400 feet up and say, oh, I'm safe because I'm high up.
No. In Canada, the regulation creates a cylinder, not a circle. Imagine a 30-meter radius tube extending from every bystander straight up into space. If your drone enters that tube at any height, you are breaking the rule unless you have a specific advanced certificate and a drone with a safety declaration for operations near people.
So it isn't just a circle on the ground. It's a whole volume of airspace around every single person.
A volume of airspace you cannot enter.
But wait, I feel like the common refrain is, oh, but I have a micro drone. It's under 250 grams. The rules don't really apply to me. That's the big loophole, right?
That used to be the common belief. It was the Wild West for microdrones for a while. But our source material highlights a massive, massive change. We're calling it the microdrone surprise.
Okay, what's the surprise?
As of April 1st, 2025, Transport Canada will require an SFOC RKS, that's a Special Flight Operations Certificate for advertised events, even for microdrones.
Wow. So that's it. It's just a tiny drone excuse is officially dead for public events in Canada.
As of April 1st, 2025, yes. If it's an advertised event, the size of your drone doesn't give you a free pass anymore. This is a game changer for people who thought they could just bring a DJI Mini to a festival and fly it over the crowd without any paperwork.
So now you have to apply for a certificate, you have to submit a safety plan, the whole 9 yards, even for a tiny drone.
The whole 9 yards. It's a huge shift.
That is a massive shift. It really professionalizes that whole category of drones, whether the pilots like it or not.
It does. It acknowledges that, a 249-gram object falling from 100 feet onto someone's head can still cause a serious injury or, at the very least, a panic in a crowd.
Okay, so let's hop south of the border now to the United States. What's the equivalent regulatory trap for American pilots?
In the U.S., under the FAA's Part 107 rules, the big trap that gets people is sustained flight over open-air assemblies.
Okay, that phrase sustained flight feels important. What exactly counts as sustained flight?
This is where the FAA gets very specific, and it's not intuitive. It's not just about flying from point A to point B over a crowd, which might be permissible in some cases. Sustained flight includes hovering, circling, or flying back and forth over people.
So basically, any kind of loitering.
Exactly, loitering above a crowd.
Which is, ironically, exactly what every client wants. They
Yeah.
say, hey, can you just hover over the dance floor and get a shot of everyone jumping up and down?
Precisely. And that action hovering over the dance floor is explicitly what the FAA targets and prohibits for most drones. Most of those cool Instagram orbits you see over a concert crowd, they are illegal sustained flights.
So you can't do that unless you have a specific waiver from the FAA or you're flying a specific category of drone that's been approved for those operations.
Right. And most standard off-the-shelf prosumer drones flying in their standard configuration do not automatically qualify for that. You often need extra gear like approved parachute systems or prop guards that have been tested to a specific standard.
So if you want to get a shot from the other side of the crowd, you have to transit over them, not hang out there.
Correct. You can transit, you can fly over to get to the other side as long as you're doing it safely and not stopping, but you cannot circle, you cannot hover, you have to keep moving.
And we also have remote ID now, which changes the game for accountability.
Oh, absolutely. Mandatory compliance is in full effect now. The FAA's discretionary enforcement period ended back on March 16th, 2024.
So what does that mean for a pilot on the ground?
It means if you're flying commercially, or really flying almost any drone over 250 grams, your drone needs to be broadcasting its ID like a digital license plate. There's no hiding anymore. This means law enforcement, or even just the general public with the right app on their phone, can see what your drone is, where it took off from, and where the pilot is standing.
That adds a whole new layer of making sure you're following the rules.
It certainly does. The days of no one will know are over.
There's one more U.S. restriction from the source material that caught my eye. Stadiums.
The TFRs, temporary flight restrictions. This is not a slap on the wrist. This is a federal felony level issue.
Wow.
For major sporting events, we're talking NFL, Major League Baseball, NCAA Division I football, NASCAR races. There is often a blanket flight ban that starts 1 hour before the event and ends 1 hour after.
It's a big area, right?
It's huge. It's usually a 3 nautical mile radius around the stadium, and it can go up to 3,000 feet, sometimes even higher.
So even if your standard drone map app shows that the airspace is clear, you could be flying straight into a federal issue if you launch anywhere near a stadium on game day.
Correct. Your basic app might not always flag those specific event NOTAMs notices to air missions in real time. You, the pilot, are responsible responsible for checking the stadium schedule. If the Cowboys are playing, do not fly within 3 miles of that stadium, period. The consequences there don't just involve a fine, they can involve the FBI showing up at your door.
Okay, so that's a lot to take in on the rules. We've got our permission stack. We know the big traps in Canada and the U.S. Now we need to talk about the physical reality of flying near people.
Right, the physics of it.
This is phase 3, crowd geometry.
And this is where we have to shift our brains from thinking in 2D, like a map on a screen, to thinking in 3D. A lot of pilots look at a map and think, okay, the crowd is over there, and I'm launching from the parking lot over here. I'm safe.
But they forget about the volume of air and, more importantly, the physics of failure.
Exactly. The sources talk about this concept of the crowd bubble and creating a no-fly volume.
So what does that look like?
Imagine a giant invisible bubble that exists over the entire footprint of the crowd. Your job is to never, ever pierce that bubble. But even more important than that, you have to think about what the sources call the fall cone.
The fall cone. That sounds ominous.
It is, and it should be. It's based on simple physics. If your drone loses all power right now, a bird hits a prop, a battery connection fails, whatever, where does it land?
Well, gravity takes over. It falls.
Right, but it doesn't just drop straight down like a stone unless it was just hovering. Momentum carries it. If you are flying forward at, say, 20 miles per hour and the power cuts, the drone is going to arc forward. It becomes an unguided projectile.
So if you are flying next to a crowd, but you're flying fast towards them, your actual crash site might be deep inside the crowd.
Precisely. If the answer to the question, if it fails right now, where does it land, is on a person, then the shot is a no-go, period. You have to account for that forward momentum and wind drift.
So you need to be planning your shots based on where the drone would crash, not just where it's currently flying.
Exactly. It's all about failure management. Which brings us to another key point, choke points.
What are choke points?
Entrances, exits, lines for food trucks, or bathrooms. These are, counterintuitively, the most dangerous spots at any event.
Why is that? I would have thought the center of a mosh pit or a dance floor would be the most dangerous.
The dance floor is dangerous, for sure, but choke points suffer from 2 things: compression and unpredictability. If people are squeezed into a narrow line for a food truck, they can't move. They're essentially trapped.
They have no ability to evade something falling.
0. If a drone falls into an open field, it's just a broken drone. If it falls into a dense choke point, it's a headline news story about injuries. So you avoid flying over choke points like the plague.
The text also mentions a flight technique, avoiding cutting across crowds.
Right. Think parallel versus perpendicular. If you fly perpendicular, cutting directly across the middle of the crowd, you are putting yourself in a position where you have no out. You are committed to that crossing.
And if something goes wrong halfway across,
you're in a world of trouble. Your only options are to crash into the people in front of you or the people behind you. But if you fly parallel to the crowd's edge running along the side of them, your escape route is incredibly simple.
you just push away.
You just push the stick away from the people. We call it the outward escape. You must always plan a route where your gut panic reaction pushes the drone away from the crowd, not across them or into them.
That sounds like something you really need to build into your muscle memory.
Absolutely. You want your panic reflex to be pull back and away, not freeze and hope.
And what about protecting the launch site itself, the launch bubble, as the sources call it?
This is so critical and so often overlooked. You need a spotter. I'm going to say that again. You absolutely need a visual observer, a spotter.
Why is that non-negotiable?
Because you'll have your goggles on, or you'll be staring intently at your little screen, trying to frame the perfect shot. You are not situationally aware of your immediate surroundings, and someone, it's usually Uncle Bob with his iPad, will walk right into your landing zone to get a cool picture of the drone taking off.
People are just drawn to them. They're curious.
They are. And if someone is inside your launch zone or looking over your shoulder, asking a million questions while you're trying to fly, you are distracted. The rule has to be simple. If a non-participant walks into the launch bubble, the motors do not arm. You wait.
The sources also mention setting specific abort triggers before you even take off.
Yes. This is part of your pre-flight briefing with yourself and your spotter. You decide these things before you're in the air. It prevents decision fatigue when things get stressful.
So what would an abort trigger be?
It could be anything. If the crowd drifts past that line of trees into my buffer zone, I abort and land. If the wind picks up above 15 miles per hour, I abort. Or my favorite one from the source material, if I see a kite.
The kite.
A kite. Kites are the secret enemy of drones at festivals. They have nearly invisible strings, often strong fishing line, that can slice a propeller in half instantly. You will not see that string on your screen. You will just see your drone suddenly flip over and fall out of the sky. If you see a kite in your airspace, you land immediately.
That is a pro tip I would never, ever have thought of. Wow.
It's one of those things you learn the hard way, or hopefully by reading about it first.
Okay, we've got the safety theory down cold.
Yes?
Let's talk about execution. How do we actually get the shots we need? Let's start with weddings, which is phase 4. The source suggests there are really only 4 safe windows to get that cinematic gold.
And this is such a relief for pilots who think they need to be flying for 8 straight hours to justify their cost. You don't. You really only need to nail 4 specific moments to tell the full aerial story of the day.
Okay, break them down for us. Window number 1.
Window 1 is the venue reveal. This is what we call calm gold.
So this is happening way before guests arrive.
Yes.
Oh.
Ideally, the morning of the wedding, or even the day before if you can get access. Empty venue, no audio to ruin, no people to worry about. You can take your time. You move the drone slowly, like a guest arriving for the first time. You reveal the landscape, the building, the ceremony site.
And this footage is the editor's glue.
That's a great term for it. It connects all the other scenes. It sets the context. It establishes the world of the film. And it is by far the safest flying you will do all day.
Okay, that makes sense. Window 2. Couple portraits.
This is the main character window. You coordinate with the photographer and you borrow 90 seconds from their portrait session. But here's the pro tip from the source. Do not just orbit them.
Why not? I see orbit shots all the time. It feels like this standard default drone move.
It is standard, and that's exactly the problem. Orbits can look like real estate ads. Here is the house, and here's the couple standing in front of the house. It feels mechanical. It feels like a tech demo for the drone's features.
So what's the alternative?
Instead, you want to use a technique called parallax drift.
Explain parallax drift. Sounds fancy.
It's actually simple. Instead of circling them, you fly past them, or you slide the drone sideways, all while keeping them in the frame. This makes the background move at a different speed than the foreground. Maybe there's a tree branch in the very front that whips by the camera. It creates layers and depth. It feels cinematic. It feels like a movie, not a security camera circling a building.
I love that. It immediately makes the image more dynamic. Okay,
Yep.
Window 3. Transitions.
This is for capturing the movement of the day. A great time is when guests are moving from the ceremony location to the reception or cocktail hour.
So you're filming the river, not the drops.
Exactly. You're not chasing individual guests or getting close-ups. You're from a safe distance, showing the flow of people moving across the lawn. It connects the story, shows the scale of the event, but you're doing it without invading anyone's personal space.
And finally, the big one, Window 4. The exit. The sparklers. The getaway car.
The danger zone. This is where everything can go wrong. It's dark, people have been drinking for hours, and you're introducing fire into the equation with sparklers. This is where accidents happen.
So how on earth do you shoot that safely?
The rule here is simple. Use a pullback reveal. You absolutely do not fly over the tunnel of people holding sparklers.
That seems to be the shot everyone wants, though.
I know, but it's so risky. Instead, you position the drone in a safe corridor, maybe just outside the entrance to the tunnel, and you start relatively low and close to the couple, but from a safe angle. As they run towards you and through the tunnel, you back the drone away and up.
So you're revealing the whole scene.
You reveal the energy, the lights, the couple running, the cheering guests, but you are moving away from the danger the entire time. You never, ever put a spinning blade directly above the bride's head when she's surrounded by fire.
And on that note,
Yeah.
what should we actively avoid? The sources call it the drone flex.
Oh, the drone flex. This is when pilots feel the need to show off. They put the drone in sport mode and do these ridiculously fast dives or aggressive, jerky yaw spins.
It looks like a video game, like an FPV race.
It looks exactly like a video game. And that is the opposite of a luxury wedding film. The language of luxury is slow, steady, deliberate. Your drone moves should feel like the camera is on a massive, smooth set of rails. If your drone looks like it's having a seizure, you are doing it wrong.
Right. High-end wedding films should feel dreamy and romantic, not like an action movie.
Precisely.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We're moving on to phase 5, festivals and sports. These feel like a completely different beast because the crowds are so much bigger, so much less predictable.
They are a different beast entirely. For festivals, the source material recommends using what they call the MAP method.
The map method.
Before you even unpack your drone, you get a map of the festival grounds, and you literally draw on it with a marker. You shade in the no-fly volume, you color in the entire area around the stage bowl, all the cues for food and toilets, the kids' zones, the medical tents, and you make a pact with yourself. I will never allow my drone to enter this airspace.
So you're defining your boundaries before the adrenaline kicks in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You make the safe decision when you're calm and rational, not when the headliner is playing your favorite song and you're tempted to get closer.
There's an interesting psychological point made here about the everyone looking up problem.
This is so crucial for crowd safety at a festival. If people in the audience stop watching the band and start pointing and looking up at your drone, you have failed.
You've become a distraction.
You've become a distraction, which is unprofessional, but worse, you've created a safety risk. People who are looking straight up are not looking where they are walking. They trip over coolers, they bump into barriers, they lose their kids. You want to be a ghost. If you are noticed, you are either too close or too loud.
Okay, now for sports. The source calls sports projectile environments.
Which is a very polite and accurate way of saying things are flying through the air at extremely high speeds. Baseballs, hockey pucks, javelins, golf balls.
And the rule for this environment is dead simple. If a ball can travel there, the drone shouldn't be there.
That's it. You have to map out the object cones, where do projectiles go, the area behind a soccer goal, terrible place for a drone, near the foul lines in baseball. Incredibly dangerous foul balls move fast and erratically.
So you can't just hover over the shortstop's head.
Absolutely not. That's just asking for trouble.
So where do you fly to get good sports action?
You want to mimic the big broadcast cameras? The best technique is sideline tracking.
Sideline track.
You fly parallel to the field, just outside the boundary line. It gives you that great sense of speed and action. You can keep pace with a running back heading for the end zone, but you are never directly over the players, the refs, or the crowd in the stands.
But what if the client wants those crazy shots? You know, the loop-to-loop over the field, the dive bomb onto the pitcher's mound. How do you handle that pressure?
You don't have to say no. You just offer a better, safer way. We have a strategy for this called Universal Safe Epic. You can satisfy the client's desire for dynamic shots without breaking the law or endangering athletes.
Okay, give us the techniques. How do you do it?
Technique 1 is perimeter parallax. This is similar to what we discussed for weddings. You fly outside the crowd or the field looking in. You use foreground elements like the stadium lights or a row of trees or the edge of the bleachers to create a sense of speed and motion even though you are a safe distance away.
So the foreground moving fast makes it feel like the drone is moving fast.
You got it. Technique 2 is the skyline anchor. You use the city skyline or the mountains in the background to sell the sheer scale of the event. This makes the shot feel huge and epic, and it doesn't require you to be right on top of the crowd to do it.
And the third one, which I think is brilliant, is the hero pocket.
This is my favorite trick. Instead of chasing the star athlete or the headline DJ through the chaotic environment, you bring them to a controlled, safe zone, a hero pocket before or after their performance.
Give me an example.
You take the DJ out to an empty field next to the festival grounds at sunset, or you get the star quarterback to come out onto the empty stadium field the day before the game. You get your glamorous, close-up, epic hero shots in a completely safe, controlled environment.
And then you just edit it in with the wide shots of the actual event.
Exactly. In the final video, it looks like you were right there in the middle of the action. But in reality, you cheated the physics. It's safer for everyone. The lighting is usually better because you can control it, and you have total creative freedom.
That is incredibly smart. It's about being a filmmaker, not just a pilot. It's about constructing the reality you need.
It's all about creating the illusion of proximity, not risking actual proximity.
Okay, we're entering the final stretch here, and this is maybe the most important part for working professionals. Phase 6, the handoff. The event is over. You've got all the footage. How do you deliver it in a way that makes clients love you and hire you again?
This is where so much of the business is won or lost. Do not, under any circumstances, just dump 400 raw, unedited files onto a hard drive and hand it to the editor or the client.
Why not?
Because you are giving them what the source calls cognitive load. They will secretly hate you for it. They now have to waste hours sifting through your bad takes, your shaky landings, your exposure checks, all of it.
So you're making their job harder.
Way harder. The goal is to make their job easier.
So what do we do instead?
You offer 2 distinct packages. Package A is the Post It Today kit.
So this is for social media.
Yes, it's for instant gratification. You deliver 6 to 12 short, amazing, color-corrected clips, maybe even some high-res stills pulled from the video. It's something they can put on Instagram tomorrow or even that very night. Planners, brands, and couples are addicted to this kind of speed.
That's a huge value add. And Package B.
Package B is the editor-friendly library. This is your main deliverable. It is curated, and most importantly, it is trimmed.
Trimmed? You mean you actually edit the clips a little?
Yes. You don't have to do a full edit, but you cut out the wobbly takeoff at the beginning. You cut out the shaky landing at the end. You give them only the usable part of the shot, maybe with a little extra on each end for transitions. You give them clean handles.
So they can just drag and drop your clips right into their timeline.
Precisely. You've saved them hours of work, and they will love you for it.
And file naming. I know this sounds incredibly boring, but the source was really specific about this.
It's so crucial. A file named DJI00047.mp4 means absolutely nothing to an editor who is looking at 5,000 files from 3 different cameras.
So what's a good file name?
A good file name answers 3 questions. What's the event? What's the moment? And what's the shot type? So something like ceremony exit wide reveal visual only.mp4. Now the editor knows exactly what they have without even having to open it.
You mentioned visual only in that file name. That brings us back to the audio honesty we talked about earlier.
Yes, you have to tag your files. If the drone sounds like a swarm of angry bees, which it often does, label the file visual only. If you were really far away and you happen to capture some nice ambient bird noise, you can label it audio K.
You're managing expectations.
Always. Don't let the editor discover that the audio is unusable. Tell them up front so they don't waste their time.
Speaking of managing expectations, this all comes down to the professional no. How do you turn down a direct request from a client for an unsafe shot like fly through the sparkler tunnel without sounding like a difficult killjoy?
You use the margin for error argument. You never just say, no, that's illegal, or no, that's against the rules. That makes you sound like a bureaucrat.
And it makes them feel like you're not on their team.
Exactly. It creates conflict.
So what's the script? What do you say?
The script is something like this. I understand completely why you want that shot. It would look amazing. However, that specific move has 0 margin for error. I can't fly a shot that only works if nothing at all changes or goes wrong, but here is a safer option that will look just as cinematic, maybe even more so.
So you're not just saying no. You're explaining why in terms of professionalism and risk, and then you're immediately offering a better, safer alternative.
Here is a safer option that looks just as cinematic. That is the key pivot. You're not just locking their idea, you're solving their underlying problem, which is to get an amazing shot. You're saying, I can get you that amazing shot, just not that specific way.
You're still the creative partner, not the obstacle.
That's the goal.
We have covered so much ground today. I mean, from the nightmare of the dentist drill to the geometry of fall cones and the art of the hero pocket.
It's a lot to take in. But it's what transforms you from just a guy with a toy to a genuine aerial cinematographer.
So to wrap this all up, we want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge. We're calling it the Wingman Challenge.
Here it is. For your very next event, I want you to sit down and rate a shot list where every single shot is possible without ever entering the cloud footprint.
Wow. Okay.
Can you tell the whole story, the emotion, the scale, the energy of the day, without ever flying directly over a single person's head?
That forces you to use all the techniques we talked about. The parallax drift, the skyline anchor, the pullback reveals.
It forces you to be creative with geometry, with timing, and with discipline. It forces you to think about long lenses, creative angles, and using foreground elements. It forces you to be a filmmaker.
And that's really the ultimate goal, isn't it? To leave the room, the event, the wedding, as calm as you found it.
Magic without stress.
Magic without stress. That's the job.
That's the whole job.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Fly safe, keep your distance, and we'll see you on the next one.
Safe flying, everyone. That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.